Welcome back, folks. So I'm back from my unplanned trip, and when I got back, I found that there was a problem with our freshwater pump. So I had planned to have a video ready for you last Saturday, but unfortunately, I had to get that pump fixed. Anyway, we're back at it. And what we're going to look at today is a new part of my toolkit here, which is this FEITA 98 or 983 digital glue dispenser. And I have to say, this is the worst English translation I have ever seen in my life. I'm going to have a real hard time trying to figure out what they mean. I mean, look at the technical indicators. Spit out way, 16 kinds of free. Take out time according to set way. After I packed according to the installation drawing machine with 3/4 of the liquid. What does that mean? Number 6, 5 adjustment vacuum controller, reversal for large vacuum back, rotation for vacuum back to small, makes the liquid will not spit out have dripping to so far. Absolutely insane. So I think what the number here, 5, it refers to this 5 spit out time interval, and I guess spit out time interval means dispensing interval. So basically, what you can do with this is you can set here the set time is how long it will actually provide air pressure, and this here I don't know. So that this one here is number 8. Number 8 is the input pressure. No, so that's the interval. That's this. So yeah, I mean it doesn't even this doesn't match this. So it's going to be a bit of a guessing game. I imagine that this here is the input pressure. This here, air pressure, probably adjusts the outgoing pressure. This here adjusts the vacuum. And I think you need that for very low viscosity fluids like glues and stuff like that. So when you dispense some out and then you want to stop, it kind of sucks back a little bit so it stops. And I'm going to have to experiment around with these a little bit to determine what all the functions are. And then the back here you have a dip switch, which I assume is this one here. And going by what they say, I think what we want is either F2, press foot switch once, continue to spit glue, no, F3, pressing foot switch, spit glue according to set time, release foot switch, stop spit glue. So the way I'm reading that is if you have a set time and you press the foot switch, it's going to dispense glue for that period of time, then stop, and then you can release the foot switch. Or this one here, function 5, press switch once, spit glue according to set time 1 time. And I think those are going to be the ones I'm going to try. And then, I'll try some other ones if those ones don't work appropriately. Anyway, let's have a look at this thing. So I think it probably work okay. It won't blow up if I plug it in and turn it on and start pressing buttons and seeing what they do. And I don't want to waste too much of my solder paste in experiments, so I'd like to get some idea of what it's going to do before I do it. And I have to show you some other things too. Maybe I should show you those before I go too far with beginning my experimental campaign here. So what it came with these rather large dispensing cylinders here with these really large connectors on it. I'm not going to enjoy trying to put solder paste into this, but I did find, searching around on Amazon, they have ones for smaller ones that'll fit directly into these 10cc cylinders. So I got a couple of these, and they had a weird end on them which I had to cut off. And speaking of weird ends, the supply line that they provided came with this on it, and that's totally non-standard. It's probably something metric, and I couldn't find anything like that. I went down to a local hardware store, and they looked at that and scratched their heads, and so I hacked that off. And what I got here was a a 3/16 inch barb, which is close, but this is a 4mm hose, so I couldn't find a 4mm barb. 3/16 is just a little bit bigger, and I was only able to get it on the first 2 barbs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap some stainless steel wire around here and twist that tight. That should hold it on there. In fact, I think it'll hold on the way it is right now. I can hardly pull it apart. And then I'm going to put some heat shrink tubing over it, and that should provide a good enough seal. And this here is a 1/4 inch pipe thread. So, and then I have a standard air fitting with a 1/4 inch pipe thread. So I just put some dope on that and tighten that up. Anyway, let's get on with turning this thing on and playing with it. So power. Ooh, it did not blow up. That's good. So let's try that function 1 here. So that one, or function 3. So I need off, on, on. So that would be off, on, and then the first one off. Okay. No, it just keeps doing it. So that's not quite what they said here. Pressing foot switch, spit glue according to set time, release foot switch, stop to spit glue. Okay, I guess it could be interpreted that way. So let's try this one here, function 5, on, off, off, off. So it's exactly the opposite of what we have here. And off, off, on, and okay, that's what I want. Now, let's try the foot switch in here. Yep, that's doing the thing for me. Now, they also have this thing here. Now, this is designed to fit these 30cc cylinders. And, it's a nice little switch like this on it, which I guess does the same thing. Yeah, and I think that would be a better interface than the foot switch. But unfortunately, the problem with that is it doesn't fit these cylinders. So what I might do is I might make up, something with sponge rubber or something like that, wrap it around there so it fits in nicely into there. And then I can use it like that. But I'll start out with the foot switch and see if I can cope with that. All right, now what I want to do is actually I want to take a look inside this thing, see what's like in there. Oh boy, they're putting them there tight. I wonder why they assemble stuff like this with the screws so tight. They're more likely to just strip the threads than provide any kind of real security. This thing doesn't need to be assembled in that fashion by any means. And rather long screws too. They don't want this thing coming apart all by itself. Okay. Here we got the main circuit board. Oh, the only circuit board. And a bunch of plumbing. This looks like the solenoid. Yeah, so it goes to the output. The input comes through to here, which is the vacuum control. And I believe this is kind of a little Bernoulli device. It produces a vacuum by bleeding off some of the air over a venturi, and that'll produce a little bit of vacuum. So that would come from here, and yeah, so the vacuum would come down through here and go through the switch to the output. So that's the output there. And this is your regulator here. So it comes in through here, into the regulator, over here, into the switch over here. And this gives you your pressure after the regulator. So, okay, so that's your outgoing pressure, not your incoming pressure. And nice little linear power supply. I love seeing linear power supplies. And interval, set time. So okay, so I think the interval is probably the time between pulses when you want it to repeat automatically. So I could experiment with that. I'd have to put it in a different mode. And this would be the time. So the number of milliseconds maybe. Fuse here, IEC connector there. It doesn't look too bad, you know, like it's not tidy, but nothing looks really horrible. All right, we can leave that like that for now. So let me get this all done up, and I'll show you what that looks like when it's finished, and we'll proceed from there. So I've got this pig down here, this pressurized inert gas cylinder. I've got it set up for 70 psi. I think this should be enough. If I'm not using the vacuum feature, which bleeds off some air, this should be enough to do quite a few little experimental dispensings. So this is what I've done. I've wrapped a couple of wraps of stainless steel wire around between the two barbs there. Now I'm just going to twist this to tighten that up. This is I use this wire for wiring on motorcycle grips, for dirt bikes, and any bolts that need to be wired up to prevent oil from leaking out in case they come undone. So you can see, so that's dug right down in there. That's going to hold that on. That's not moving anywhere. Now I just need to cut that off and flatten it out, and then I'll put the heat shrink tubing over it, and I'll come back and show you that. All right, so that's all done there. I've got a couple layers of heat shrink on there. This is the kind with the hot melt glue in it, so I think that's going to be very effective in keeping this all nice, and it, you know, hides that little bit of stainless steel wire there that might scratch somebody. And I've put this air fitting onto the 1/4 inch pipe thread there with a little bit of plumber's compound, so that should seal up pretty good, and I tightened it up good and tight. And now I'm just going to connect it up to the pig down here. Let's see, turn on some air. Yep, we got air. I'll put this in here. Now these fittings here, they take the plastic hose, goes directly into them. They've got kind of these little fingers going like that. So when you put the hose in like that, then they kind of bite into the hose and prevent it from coming out and seal around it, kind of like a shark bite fitting. Now that should work. Let's put some pressure on that. Okay, it hasn't blown out. Now what if I make this egregiously large? Is that actually doing anything in this mode? No. Okay, it's the reset time. So 32 seconds, or I don't know if it's seconds. All right, so that should be good enough to do that 0.1. Okay. It's grabbing, but it's not going in very far. Let's see what happens when I start getting some solder paste out all over the place. Snap this on like that. Presume that's going to hold. Put it over there and lock it in place. And this should be all ready to go, actually. Let me get a piece of paper here. I'm going to use a piece of paper to try this out first. Okay, let's see what happens when I try our... Oh, okay. It gives a... It actually seems about right. Who'd have guessed? Let me get that foot switch down on the floor and see what that's kind of like as a user interface. And plop this down on the floor. And okay, let's try this switch. All right. Now, those really do look like they're about the right size. I'm going to check under a magnifying glass. Okay, that might be a bit small. So we're outputting, yeah, basically everything we're putting in. So we've got 60 psi there. So if I increase the interval, so let's go up to 24 and see what I get out with 24 going in. How did I tie that in a knot? Good Lord. Some people shouldn't be allowed to do anything. All right, here we go. Okay, that might be a bit more appropriate. I'm going to get a little PC board and I'm going to try that. But first let me put this back together again. Okay, so I got one of these here, my little fast rise time oscillator projects. And we'll try it on this. There's my foot switch, and let's try one here. Nice. So I don't know if you can see that there, but it's dispensed some nice little blobs there. We may need a little bit more, but I don't think so. I think that's just about right. So I'm going to continue putting these on there. Then I'll mount some resistors on it, and we'll put it through the reflow oven. Okay, so I've got resistors put on there. I'm just going to pop this in the reflow oven. I think maybe my original setting was a little bit better, so I'm back to 14. But let me try these. I'm going to reflow these and see what happens. Okay. Just came out of the reflow oven, and you know, it doesn't look too bad. It looks pretty good to me. I can see that maybe on this side and this side here is really the right amount of solder. It looks like there might be a little bit too much in a couple of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll it back from, I had it at 14 and I put it at 24. I'm going to roll it back to the middle, try 19 for a while and see how that works out. But let's just make sure that you know, it did reflow properly without shorting anything out. We'll check these here. So yeah, we should have 624, 624, 624, 624, and this one should be 3600 here. Yeah, so everything worked out pretty good there. Let's see if we got any shorts or anything like that between them. That should be 1200, 1200, 1200, 1200, 1200. Any shorts to ground? No. All right, so it worked out really well. It's going to be a nice little addition to my solder bench. So let me show you. While the oven was going, I moved it into one of the positions I was thinking of. So let me dismount the camera here and show it to you over there on my solder bench. So that's where I'm thinking of putting it. Like a rather cluttered soldering bench at this point in time. Messy. But okay, so that's one possible place, and another possible place is over there where that tape is. And that one might be a little bit easier because I'm going to put the big air cylinder is going to go on the other side of this wall here. That's kind of like the back basement area. And then I'll just poke a little hole through to run the hose. And but that one there looks like it's a little bit more of a convenient spot, and if I can make it work over there, I will. So that's it, a brief look at this glue dispenser come solder paste dispenser, and I think it's going to work out really well. You know, did I need it? Nah, I didn't need it. It's a hobby. You do this for pleasure, and if this gives me a little bit of additional pleasure in my hobby, make it a little bit easier for me, I think it's well worth the $100 or so that it cost. Thanks very much for joining me. Leave a like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.